take two. For whatever reason, it wasn't showing up on the on my personal page on the Facebooks, but now it's fixed and it's working according to all the powers that be. This is, of course, Mac to the Future. It is Wednesday night, so it must be Mac to the Future Go. Yeah, it's kind of bad when you're just starting out. And, I made a joke earlier over on the Mac to the Future page that, how are things going to be screwed up tonight? And Warren is on with me. I'm going to bring him in here in just a second. But before we started the show, we actually went to the trouble to try to figure out why we have this horrible lag. And basically, through OBS software, what I've done is I've added about a half-second delay, which hopefully none of you are seeing, but that should take care of at least some of the lag. Anyway, I'm not going to worry about that right now because I'm going to bring in Warren. Hello, Warren. How are you?
I'm the lag daddy.
The lag daddy.
That's
yeah. So who do we got? We got four people in here. We got Amin. We got Brian Monroe. There's you, and then there's me. I think that's it. Just the four of us.
And I'm
almost enough for bridge.
Yeah, I'm in.
Do you play bridge?
I drive over bridges, but I don't play bridge. No.
Okay, I don't play bridge.
I wouldn't know how to do it.
I think you take cards and you glue them together, and then you put them over like a span. That's
like a house of cards. It's a house of cards, but with bridge.
Exactly. Amin wants a shout out. Yo, brah, what's up?
Yeah, brah.
And Warren's got his nice Apple T-shirt. I'm wearing all Florida tonight. I've got this side. I got my orange Ron John shirt on. I got my St. Augustine cap. The earphones are probably from China, so I imagine there's probably somewhere in China that's called Florida. Maybe not. We got some stuff to talk about tonight, Warren.
Good, because I came here for a reason.
Well, otherwise it's just you and me cracking jokes that nobody's going to give a crap about.
What else am I going to do on Wednesday nights?
We do have the Xeno live page is going. So once we get started here, if you would like to talk to us, 701-801-4367. Don't call yet. Once you call that number, you dial 5. And so far, I think, Warren, the only person that has worked for has been Brian Monroe. I don't think it's worked for anybody else.
It's probably like a radio station, contest. It's hard to get through. So, there's so many people calling. Brian's just,
he's on it. He's on it. Hey, John Hanos has joined us, and
Ed's here.
Brian Etzminger. I can't say your name, so
no. Well,
you know who you are.
Name, right?
You know who you are. First topic of the evening. There's a new bit of malware that's going around. It's called MaMi, M-A-M-I. And this one can be a little nasty, Warren. It, in essence, hijacks your DNS settings, which is used to route all your internet traffic, and it puts it through the attacker's servers instead of whatever settings you would normally have. And they can take screenshots, they can upload and download files, generate mouse events, and execute commands. And what kind of makes this one a little scary is malware detection programs aren't picking it up yet. However, there is an easy way to check to see if you have this. And what you have to do is you go to System Preferences, Network, and then Advanced. And if you hit the DNS tab in your advanced settings, look for the following IP address: 82.163.143.135 and 82.163.142.137. If you see those, that means you've been hit, and you should immediately change them over to some other settings. Probably the easiest one, Warren, would be the Google DNS settings, 8888.
Yep. And 8844.
8844. Yeah.
Yeah. So this looks like kind of looks like a man in the middle attack. It looks like it's the DNS servers are going out to like a fake, or the bad guy's address for the DNS, and they have, some pointer from you to them, and they could do something from there. I'm guessing. So it looks like it's more through a network connection. It's not particularly changing. There's nothing installing on the Mac other than changing DNS settings. So it's not like installing some kind of virus or malware. It's just pointing you into this,
into their servers, so they can can basically look at everything that you're doing online. Anything that's going out from your computer, they can see. And according to what I was reading, they can also take screenshots, download some files, and now stuff that's encrypted, they probably can't do anything with. Though, I mean, they could download the encrypted file, but without the key, there's not much they'll be able to do with it.
So DNS, it doesn't even make sense, because DNS is basically telling your computer how to resolve your IP addresses to host names, and there's DNS servers out there that pretty much will resolve it. I don't understand how they could actually get into your computer from one of those servers back to you, but I'm not that smart when it comes to that stuff. But
that's what they're saying.
So
by the way, real quick, I want to say hi to my brother Larry Grinnell, who just jumped in. Hey, Larry, what's up? I'm hoping this summer, Larry, if you're listening, I hope you're still on. Hope you haven't given up this all up as a bad deal, to be coming down to Florida to once again try my hand at really bad surfing. Actually, I'm really good, Warren. I am excellent at bad surfing. I'm really good at it.
Can you stand up?
No, I cannot. Really? I have been going down to Florida. My nephew Bill, bless his heart. I'm 6'6". My nephew Bill and his brother Jeff are like 6'7", 6'8". These guys are huge. But my nephew Bill, who is my brother Bill's son, has surfboards, and because he's so tall, the surfboards that he has work really well for me too. So we'll take like 1 or 2 days while I'm down in Florida. We'll go to the beach, drive, because it's in Daytona, so you can drive right on the beach if you have the special permits and stuff. And we'll just spend the whole day. Now, Bill, he can stand up on a surfboard.
Right.
I have yet to be able to stand up on a surfboard. It's not from a lack of trying.
If you're on your stomach and you're doing the waves, is that still considered surfing, or do you have to be standing up to?
I think as far as I'm concerned, now I could lie and say, well, I was on the board and the board rode the wave, so therefore I was surfing. That's crap. That's total utter nonsense.
You might as well be
if
on
you're
a
not,
board.
you may as well be on one of those vinyl inflatable rafts, because you're not surfing.
I'm surfing.
Oh, I'm surfing. Whoa, look at me. I'm hanging 10.
It's just not.
No, it's not surfing. It is not surfing.
No,
so until I actually stand up, it's not surfing.
Good luck with that.
Frank Petrie says, feed is
freezing a full screen.
Is that us, or is he talking about something else?
No, I think he's saying, I don't know.
I'm confused because I'm looking at it here and we're not freezing. Anyway,
no, yeah,
I can't worry about it.
It is cold.
It is. Now, the last thing about MaMi before we move on to something else, and really what this means is, don't click on installers. Don't click on pop-ups and notifications and alerts. Don't click on links in emails that you aren't 100% sure of what they'll do, or if they're not from sources that you completely trust. This is the same. They're basically, the people that put this crap out are basically relying on you to infect yourself. And it doesn't, at this point, it's pretty much the same thing with Windows. I think most of the holes that allowed for automatic, viruses to be crammed onto your systems and Windows. They're pretty much done at this point. Most malware is related to social engineering to get you to infect yourself, because that's the easiest way to do it. So don't do that.
So I mean, it's.
Hey, Denise.
Ed talks about it a lot, and basically how Mac installs things, and some things, some things have an installer, some things don't have an installer. Most things you just move from to the DMG file application. Sometimes it asks for a password while you do that. Sometimes it doesn't. It's not perfect science, and it is getting a little more confusing than it used to be on a Mac.
Well, you have the safe. What do they call that?
The gatekeeper.
Yeah, gatekeeper. Where if there's not a Apple approved signed certificate for the company or the installer of the program that you're trying to put in, it'll actually pop up and say, "Are you really sure are you absolutely positive you want to do this?"
Does that, but it also asks you that every time you open up a program and says, "Hey, you downloaded this from the internet. Do you want to open?" And nobody, says no because you don't. I mean, so these warnings start to get, all over the place. But the best advice is really, and Brian just said it in the chat, but it's basically get your installers from real places on the internet. Go to Adobe, go to Java directly if you want Java. Go to Skype. I think Paul actually posted today in the Facebook group that not Handbrake, the torrent client again got kind of hacked out. I'll have to find it.
What torrent client?
The one that had a problem not too long ago.
I can't think of what that was.
Yeah.
I typically don't. I haven't used many torrents or a program that required a torrent in years.
Transmission.
I've got that.
So transmission. A couple of. It's probably been a year now that they had some kind of weird thing that
and it was right on their site too.
Yeah, something like that. And then Paul said that something happened again. So, yeah, I mean,
Suds.
Suds, yeah, he's there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we got 8 people. Holy crippity crap! Anyone who has any comments or would like to chime in on MaMi, you can call the number that's there on the screen, 701-801-43. What is that number? 67. Once you're there, dial 5 to request to talk, and you can join us right here on the air. Apparently, maybe. we don't always know exactly if this is going to work or not. So it's always special fun time, Warren, when we ask people to try to call it. And that's the Xeno live service. It's really been hit or miss. But moving on from that, Apple and HBO want JJ. Did you read about this?
I did, and I heard about it. To do TV shows, I think, is what they want him to do, or not.
Well, does J.J. Abrams have any experience in science fiction?
He kind of killed a few things. I actually like. He did something with Star Wars that people didn't like. I don't remember which one he did.
He did the not Force Awakens. Was it the Force Awakens? It was the first of the latest trilogy. And he actually directed it. And that was, other than being like an almost direct copy of Star Wars 4, the original Star Wars movie, it wasn't bad. I enjoyed it. The one I really liked more than that was Rogue One.
Force Awakens.
No, Rogue One.
Rogue One was really good, but that wasn't him.
No.
But that was a really good one. He did the reboot of the Star Treks, which I kind of I liked.
The first one was okay. They took they took a lot of really, really weird liberties with Star Trek canon. And if you look at that and then you look at the new show that they have on Star Trek Discovery, it's almost like Paramount is saying, you know what? All you people that have been Star Trek fans for years and years and years and years, we really don't care if you like Star Trek anymore with what we're doing with it, because we want to attract all new people. So we don't care if you like it. But it worked,
because I really did actually not like. I like some of them.
Discovery.
No, I never watched the show, any of Star Trek shows. I've seen the movies. The first one I walked out. The first one that came out when I must have been 10 or I don't know. But
are you talking about when they were in the pajama uniforms, the light white and blue Star Trek uniforms?
The first one with Leonard Nimoy and all them.
And Shatner.
Yeah, back in the 80s.
Yeah, that was terrible. Star Trek the motion picture.
The first one.
It was I think such a snooze fest.
It was the first movie that we walked out on. My mom took me and we walked out on it. But then it got, I don't know, the con one was a little better. And then, it was corny, but I liked the one where they find a whale and,
that was the fourth one.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so I'm not a big fan.
Okay. Well, I have been a big Star Trek fan going way, way, way. I mean, I remember watching the show in the 60s. Not so actually, let me take that back. I was more interested in watching Batman back in the 60s, because I remember when Batman was first airing. As I recall, my brother Larry, I don't know if he's still in the chat room. My brother Larry and my sister Nancy were big Star Trek fans when the show was first on the air. And there's some stories I could tell involving my brother Larry, but I'm not going to, because it's just not fair, because he can't speak for himself.
Wow, he did Mission Impossible too, J.J. Abrams. So he's done a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's done some good stuff. I just didn't like the liberties that they took with the new Star Trek movies. I was fine with Chris Pine as Kirk. That was fine. Fine with what's his name that played Spock. I thought he did just such a great Zachary Quinto.
Yeah.
Has done a fantastic Spock. I should know. What the hell is his name? The guy that did Scotty.
He's the zombie movie. Yeah, he was in.
They had the whole. There was a trilogy of movies. It was like the beer and chocolate trilogy. Something they had Hot Fuzz. Then they had the zombie movie, and then they had the end of the world one.
The end of the world. That was
Yeah, where they were going from pub to pub to pub to pub.
The end of the world was a pub one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with the end of the world with Seth Rogen and all those.
No, that was
awesome, actually.
There were parts of it that I did enjoy. There were other parts I was kind of like, really?
It was, with the guy who ended
James
up on a
Franco.
flagpole.
Yeah.
James Franco. And then
and he's being taken up to heaven. He's like, hey, you guys are all gonna burn. And I guess God was like, okay, you're bragging now. Just tosses him right into hell. How did we get on that? We were talking about J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, so he's got experience. Yeah, whatever.
So what he may bring to the table for a new sci-fi show for either Apple or HBO, don't really know. Have you seen both of the new Star Wars movies?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. I saw
before
the latest one.
Go ahead. Sorry.
And I know he didn't direct that, but he's directing the last one.
What I was going to say is he directed the first one, and then he was supposed to direct the second one. I think his daughter died. His daughter died of suicide or drugs or something, so he stopped directing it at that point, and somebody else took over to finish it. So there's a lot of theories out there about I mean, I don't want to go into too many spoilers, I guess, because we didn't warn
No,
people. But
yeah. Let's just say that if you're like a dyed in the wool, if you're a dyed in the wool Star Wars fan, you've already seen the movie. But
okay,
if you haven't seen the movie and you're a big Star Wars fan, there will be parts of it that you probably don't like.
Right. So, but
honestly, the ending of it, the big fight at the very end with Luke Skywalker, where he's standing, he's out there by himself, and he's just like, "Come on!"
Right.
That was just awesome.
Right.
And no, we're not going to spoil it or anything, but I mean, really, that whole scene from the moment that he shows up on the planet to the big surprise at the end was just amazing. It was really, really well done.
And it actually doesn't make sense. He's never, I mean, never in the history of Star Wars has a Jedi been able to do that.
Okay.
I'm just going to do that. So, like, all of a sudden he could do that? I don't know. Whatever.
Well, if you think about what, no, I can't say without, you know what, let's just move on from that.
Too many spoilers. Yeah,
Too many spoilers. We're going to take a break here in just a second. I pick a different ad. And is Ed still in here with us?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, if Ed is still here with us, he's going to like this ad. So when we come back, we have a couple more things that we're going to talk about. And then I guess we'll just call it a night. So everybody stand by. And that's not even for this particular podcast. And Warren and I, yeah, we'll be right back. Are you a new Mac user or an old hand? Wish you could know the ins and outs, keyboard shortcuts, or hidden tips and tricks to make you more efficient using your favorite computer? Hey, it's your lucky day, because Edward Eisen has written a great guide to knowing more about the Mac and the OS that it runs on. It's called This is the Light Side, and it's available through Apple's iBookstore or with Amazon. Better yet, it's not a stuffy old book that gathers dust on the shelf once the next operating system is released, because it's an ebook that you can look at any time you want. It won't get outdated because it's continuously being updated. Information on setting up your new Mac, installing and getting rid of applications, security settings and what to look out for, keyboard shortcuts, some basic app recommendations, how to use Windows on your Mac, if you really want to, that is, advanced topics, searching, using iCloud, and much more. All this for a mere 99 cents. Go to the iBookstore or Amazon and check out Edward Eisen's This is the Light Side. It's the book you want on your virtual shelf. Okay, we are back, and once actually, it's weird, Warren. Once we actually restarted everything, it has been, flawless. Just amazingly, everything has worked very, very well. We haven't had, nobody's called us yet on the Xeno Live 701-801-4367. Then you dial 5, or maybe they've tried and it just didn't work. I don't know. Don't care.
Either way, yeah.
Either way, if anybody wants to try, go ahead and give it a try. No guarantees. There are no guarantees on this side of this live cast.
No money back.
Now, speaking of problems with Apple, there is yet another password bug, Warren.
Yep.
And this one, it's I don't really know what to say about this one as far as, should people be freaked out by it or not? And there's a couple reasons why it's probably not that big a deal, though it can be. Now, with this one, basically, somebody can type in any password they want for your admin account related to the App Store and get into your preferences for the App Store. Now, where this isn't that big of a deal is it doesn't work with non-admin accounts. So, pretty much everyone, if you're a Mac user, should know that you should have 2 accounts on your computer. You should have an admin account that you can do all of the important stuff related to updating and all that other happy stuff. And then a non-admin account that you actually use for your day-to-day stuff. If you are working from your non-admin account, this isn't going to affect you at all. The only way that this can affect you is if you're using as your main account, your admin account, and you get up and walk away from your computer in a room full of people that you don't know, because then they can come on over and do this and get into your admin account app store preferences.
Right. And I'm looking at the preference panel now. Yeah. There's really nothing they could, it's pretty, there's options, but there's really nothing that's going to make
things bad.
Bad. Yeah. There's no,
yeah. But it's not good though. To me, High Sierra has been for Apple just a disaster. I think that there has been so many going all the way back to even the new disk format.
Yeah.
That they're pushing that only works for SSDs. It doesn't work for spindle drives that you'd have in a machine that Apple sold you. It doesn't work with Fusion drives in machines that Apple sold you. So the only way that you can use this gee whiz bango new format is if you have a pure SSD drive, and that's really the only way. That's the only way you can use a new format. And there's been several very, very high profile bugs related to High Sierra, and I think it just shows that it really wasn't ready to go.
So the weird thing is, I have the beta on, and the betas, for the most part, have avoided a lot of the bugs. This one, for instance, the latest one, the beta, even the beta from before this was discovered wasn't affected. They are being, the beta cycles have been very different than normal. They're coming out with a lot of betas seems like every week, and they're not, releasing the final version for like weeks and weeks and weeks. The beta of the iOS has been, we've been on the 0.5 version for almost a month now, and it's not out to the people yet. So there's definitely something going on as far as their process of release software out. And it's like you said, everything's adding up. This in itself is nothing. The Apple, the SSD for the Apple Fusion drive, the Apple file system. The problem that they had is when they first announced High Sierra, they didn't say that it was only going to be for solid state drives.
Yeah.
They said it's optimized for it. So there was an expectation that it was, going to go on everything. And then when the beta came out before High Sierra came out,
it did work on everything originally.
It did work. It converted everything over initially, and then I think that beta 3 they stopped doing that. So there was an expectation. Now, the new file system, from what I'm told, doesn't do anything beneficial for a non-solid state drive. Whether that's true or not, I've heard different podcasters debate it. Whether it does or not. There's snapshot things, there's other things going on, but Apple sort of says that it's not going to help you. If you have a rotational drive, there's no reason to have it. But so again, they mess up with the expectation on that, and then the bugs. Take all that out of it, it's still works.
Well, and it's not only been on the Mac side; it's been on the iOS side as well. The whole battery debacle that's still going on. There are countries that want to press criminal charges because Apple made your phone last longer, in essence, but didn't tell you how. You know, that's what people seem to be upset about, is that, okay, Apple, there was a problem where phones were shutting down that had, phones with low batteries. And instead of just saying, well, you should pay us $79 to replace that, or however much the battery, the charge was to put in a new battery, they were just like, okay, well, we're going to make it so that your phone won't shut down, even if your battery isn't optimized, or it's an older battery. And because they didn't tell people exactly what it was that they were going to do before they did it, everyone is losing their minds. I had a 6 Plus, and I don't have it now just because it basically died just before Christmas. But I was quite happy with that 6 Plus. I didn't really notice much in the way of a slowdown, and my battery wasn't anywhere near new.
So, it's the people who had the battery issue.
Yeah, Brian, we are talking about APFS. Yes.
Yeah. People who had the issue with the problem was the people are claiming that if you had the issue with the battery and went to Apple and said, hey, what's wrong with my phone? And they said nothing. And then they went to buy a 7 or 7 Plus at that point. The argument is, if people were all on the same page, Apple would have said, this happens. They would have put a new battery in there for $90. And everybody would have been happy, right? So,
yeah, all they had to do was say that was why, and they didn't.
Yeah. And I guarantee at least probably 50% of the people would have replaced the battery and kept their phone longer, than rather than upgrade it. And that's what they did wrong. Tim Cook was on.
Frank is asking if we blame the coders or management. Actually, they're both culpable, and I'll tell you why. When the phones were shutting down, basically management went to the coders and said, short of completely rewriting the operating system for whatever this bug is, can you fix it? Can you just do an update that'll fix the problem? And the coders looked at it and said, oh, okay, well, here's without talking to management, basically said, here's the problem. We have these spikes in CPU usage for these certain processes, and the batteries aren't capable of supplying enough power on demand to the CPU, so they're shutting down. So if we slow the CPU down when these processes come in, then they won't shut down and everybody will be happy. And so they go to management and say, okay, here's your fix. This will take care of the problem. And management they're not going to ask too many questions. They're going to be like, oh, okay, well, this fixes the problem. They put it out there, and lo and behold, it fixed the problem. And it wasn't until months later, and there was actually, when the original fix was put out, I think this was last February, there was actually something in their release notes that said that part of the fix was power management. So they didn't actually come out and say, we're slowing down the CPU in order to manage power better. But that's essentially what had happened. And once that came out, everybody started losing it. Hell, even the friggin' U.S. Congress is now getting into this mess. And it's like, do you really, really want to follow in the footsteps of some of these other idiot countries that are claiming that this was done deliberately to sell more phones or whatever? Where in the reality of the situation is, this fix enabled people with older phones to keep those phones and still use the applications that they wanted to use longer. So, this wasn't a ploy to get people to buy new phones. And, let's just throw that into the trash, because that's where it belongs.
Yeah, I'm trying to post it in the chat room, but ABC News with Brian Burr, what's his name, had Tim Cook on tonight on the news, and they asked him, it's like, what, they asked him about the phone thing, and he, very Tim Cook like said, we did tell people, but we didn't do it, well enough, and we're sorry about that. So that's he's trying to ease that down a little bit, but it will. I think it's going to die down. I think Apple will
come out. I don't even know if.
Yeah, I don't think they'll even pay anybody for it, but yeah, it's got to die at this point. Yes, things went wrong, and it wasn't perfect at all.
Excrement occurs.
Yes, but
which is a polite way of saying something else.
The world's got to move on at this point and deal with it.
Okay, last topic for the evening.
Here's a link.
Selling less computers is the new normal, except for Apple. Maybe. Now, overall, the PC market is in a decline worldwide, which essentially means that people are hanging on to their computers longer, which in turn is no stranger to how Mac users are. The difference may be that more people than ever are deciding to give a Mac a try when they finally do get around to buying a new computer, which is one of the reasons why Apple's worldwide market share continues to rise, even though they're selling less computers. I think other than who was it? HP, I think, who was number one. Every other computer manufacturer in the top 5, including Apple was at number 5, sold less computers this year than they did in 2016. The difference is Apple's margins are at such a rate that even if they sell less computers, they're still making a lot of money. Most of the other computer manufacturers rely on volume sales in order to make a profit off all of these machines. And Apple's like, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to make a profit on every machine. And so that's what they do. And when you throw in that a lot of people are starting to kind of jump on the Mac bandwagon, and let's face it, there's been several devices that Apple has put out that have been kind of like gateway drugs into that's probably not a bad analogy, into the Apple ecosphere. The first one, of course, was the iPod, and just as that was kind of winding down in 2007, 2008, along came the iPhone, which got even more people interested in using Apple products. So I'm guessing that a lot of the people, Warren, that are coming over to the Mac side for their next computers probably started with either an iPhone or an iPad. You think?
Or a Mac Mini. I think a Mac Mini was a big one. MacBook Air is another one. So the lower cost Macs got them into it too. It certainly got us into it. But yeah, iPhones are going to be a big one. I think iPhones get a lot of people into the Mac computers. They're so popular, everybody, buying them. And then with the iCloud synchronization and the iTunes, you're buying into the ecosystem at that point. So certainly for me, when people ask me my opinion what to get, and if they say they have an iPhone, I'm like, you really want a Mac? It just works well with them. So yeah, it's definitely a way in. And then you're kind of stuck in there. You don't hear a lot of people going out of it from that point or switching off of it because you got so much invested into it. But it does all work.
Okay. Well, I think that's all I got for tonight, Warren. Do you have anything?
Yeah, just with the article, I mean, a lot of Apple sells, even though they don't have a huge laptop line, they're still selling their 2015 model out there for the 15-inch Retinas. You could still buy that out there. Mm-hmm. They're still selling the Airs out there. You could still buy a Mac Mini out there. So there's still a lot of, people who don't want to spend $3,000 on a Mac and still go out and buy something for about $1,000 or $1,100 or $1,200 and get a good computer. And, that's helping Apple sales too. I mean, people aren't, there's a lot of options out there for cheaper computers. And I think that's a good way in. That's all I got.
I mentioned this on the MyMac podcast, which you can find every Sunday or Monday over at mymac.com. Do you guys have Micro Center stores up where you are?
Yeah, there's one or two around here.
They were selling the new Mac Pros for $4,000.
Yeah, I know.
And oh my God, if I was so tempted, so very, very tempted, but I just can't see spending $4,000 or $5,000 on an iMac. I can't do it.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a lot of money. I mean, I know guys said, how do they do that already? And resellers could sell Apple equipment cheaper than Apple. Best Buy does it all the time. Yeah, so I mean they could do it. And it's sort of like a secret, but Apple occasionally will match a price. Certainly at Best Buy, they've done it. They don't advertise
at the store or online.
At the store, like Best Buy generally will have like $200 off a certain MacBook or $300. They have them a lot. If you go to Apple and say, I want to buy this, and Best Buy has it for this price, they go into the back, they pretend to talk to a manager, they come back out and say, okay, we could do that.
Okay, here you go.
They do kind of match them, but I don't think they would match that Micro Center price. That was pretty.
But that was like 20% off.
Yeah.
And
I mean.
And also you have to remember that it helps when your margins are in the 35 to 40% range. That gives you quite a bit of leeway. Anyway, Warren, if people wanted to get a hold of you, I guess they can do so over there on the Mac to the Future page, which is the best Apple group over there on the Facebooks. And still, we're not the biggest, but we are the best, and we have a good time. You can reach me, Guy at mttfgo.com. I am also Mac Parrot on the Twitters. We have a Skype telephone number, 703-436-9501, that we share with the MyMac podcast. And it doesn't matter because no one is calling that number for any reason whatsoever. But it's 703-436-9501. And I think that's going to about do it for tonight, Warren.
I'm good.
All right. So everyone, thanks for joining us tonight. Let's see. We had quite a healthy chat going on over there in the Facebook group.
Yeah.
And I guess we will see you all next week. So join us again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.
Anyway,
anyhow,
are you good for next week?
Yeah, I think so.
Boy, my microphone is clipping like crazy. Why is it doing that? 1, 2, 3. Why is it clipping like? Okay, it's not doing it now. I don't know.
Frank needs Frank says I need a co-host credit on your logos going by. I get no credit.
Frank, did you make the original Mac to the Future logo? Or
no,
which?
I think on your credits that go by, the words. My name's not on there.
Yeah, I can change that.
I don't. Frank said I don't care.
Oh, I thought maybe Frank. Warren needs. See, because OBS doesn't have a way to bring. God, you know what? You know what? What Facebook Live needs is a way to tear off the comments field and move it someplace else on the computer.
Yes.
Because right now I have to look at a different monitor way over here in order to look at the comments.
I would show you what I got going on here. I got my phone here. I got another laptop going on here, and still I can't get this going. So yeah, it's Facebook.
Well, what I may do, because actually now that I'm thinking about it, it actually would have been kind of easier. Would have been to start it up here on because I have the other monitor that's connected to the Mac Mini that I use for the. Actually, let me turn this off. The Xenocast thing.
Yes.
Wait a moment.
And
Frank also says your rolling credits says 2017.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Still 2018.
Is it? Are you sure, Frank? Are you absolutely sure it's 2018, or is that just a shared illusion?
I don't know.
I think it's a shared illusion.
My watch doesn't say. So